He was nicknamed the innovator, the originator, and the architect of rock and roll. As the world continues to mourn the death of Little Richard, we wanted to check in with someone who might know a thing or two about the life of the music legend.
So we asked the man who portrayed Little Richard in his self-titled 2000 biopic if he would stop by for some reflection. We welcome right now Leon, live via Skype. Leon, thanks so much for taking the time to join us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So nice to have you. So where were you when you found out that Little Richard had passed away?
Well, I was lying in bed, actually. I was lying in bed and I got the news and I was quite surprised.
I'm sure it was, quite shocking.
But I mean, it wasn't so much that, that he had passed away. It was just the timing of it, so many people passing away right now and losing people and, almost back to back. It's just hard. And then you think about someone as great as Little Richard, who actually changed the face of music, who basically influenced everyone from, his time period up to Prince and Michael Jackson. So it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's been a rough spring. Weeks ago, we lost Bill Withers. This weekend, in addition to Little Richard, Betty Wright, the singer, as well as Andre Harrell, the music mogul. Now, we mentioned that you portrayed Little Richard in his biopic. Did you ever get a chance to meet him? And if so, what was he like, Leon?
Yeah, of course I got to meet him. Got to meet him before, during, and after. This was an authorized biopic that I did of Little Richard. So I talked to Little Richard. He was a very emotional man. He was very concerned about how people thought of him and his legacy. But he had a lot of faith in me because he was good friends with David Ruffin, who I portrayed in the Temptations movie. And he was happy with that portrayal and thought that I would do him justice.
That's amazing. So what's your favorite memory of Little Richard?
My favorite memory of Little Richard, Little Richard, the actual man, or the Little Richard, the performer?
Why don't you pick? What's your favorite memory?
I would say that my greatest memory of Little Richard would be going through his tapes and dissecting him and his performances and realizing that this man was so ahead of his time, and then what he had to go through in order to just express that. People were actually scared of him at the time because he was so different. But yet his music endured, and yet he was, look, the Beatles they started off as a Little Richard cover band. That's how big he was.
Hey, Leon, I'm just curious about the preparation that goes into the roles that you play. You mentioned that you played David Ruffin as well as Little Richard, Jackie Wilson as well. How much preparation time did it take for you to get it to the point where you thought you could portray him the way that he deserved?
I think I went through a 6 to 7 week rehearsal period. Dance rehearsals, song rehearsals, as well as, actual dialogue and scene work. I was lucky enough to get the director that I had requested, Robert Townsend, to direct me. So it was kind of shorthand on the acting side, but, definitely a lot of work went into, preparing for the role, and especially the musical numbers.
Is there any particular line that you remember, or anything that really stands out from when you did that performance?
There's so many of them, Little Richard.
I can imagine.
Yeah, he was just such a character, man. It's just, and it was so funny because people have been sending me scenes from the movie, and it's like jarring my memory of, how elaborate of a character he was and all the things that he would say. I guess a line that would really resonate today, even more so then, is when the guys in his band told him that they didn't want to wear makeup and stuff like him. and he told them that, you can call me a sissy all you want, but just make sure you call me a rich sissy.
Ooh. Wow, that sounds just like him, and very appropriate for his personality.
Yeah, literally, he was something else. He will not be forgotten. That's for sure.
Hey, Leon, before we let you go, we've been asking parents how they're handling encouraging their kids during this pandemic. I know you have a daughter, Noelle. Would you mind sharing what you've told her about this time in history, or any words of encouragement that you might have for folks?
Well, I mean, I have the same words of encouragement I have for all young people, especially the graduates of 2020. I know that they may feel as though they are missing out on their traditional celebration and their cap and gowns and all the young people growing up through this time. But this will be the generation that will be remembered the most.
Hey,
We'll
Leon.
be remembered for our progress because they went through this. They came through this. They persevered through this. So when I talk to young people like my daughter and graduates of 2020, I said, you know, we're looking to you to show us the way. That's a heavy burden, but I'm sure you can handle it.
Hey, Leon, real quick, she attends Howard, is that right?
Excuse me?
Does she attend Howard? Is that, have I read that
Yeah,
right?
no, she attended Howard her freshman year,
Okay.
But now she's in Los Angeles studying acting.
Got it. Following her father's footsteps.
We'll see.
All right.
All right, Leon, thank you so much for spending some time with us, and we'll be sure to have you back because we want to hear more about what you're working on. And we appreciate all your words and keeping the legend of Little Richard alive in that film. We'll all remember that.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me, and stay safe, okay?
All right, you too.